All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name's Andy King. I'm an assistant professor at Ohio State, and with me I have Alisa Wray and Shannon Toohey, who are from the University of California at Irvine. And today we're going to talk about a really important topic. So as many of you know, wellness has really become one of the forefront topics, not only in emergency medicine, but medicine in general. And today we're going to focus on a specific aspect of wellness, happiness. So happiness, and specifically how we can use concepts such as grit, resilience, a growth mindset, and overall a positive outlook to really give you tools to help you ensure a career that is long and productive and doesn't get cut short by burnout, depression, etc. So the three of us have no financial disclosures or conflicts of interest, but like all of you, we have had many days where we've been extremely happy. We've also had many days where we've been approaching or even reached burnout. And I anticipate that that's why many of you are here, to really share with us some of the tools that we use, that we've identified to kind of help promote happiness in your career. So objectives, what are we going to cover today? So we're going to start out by describing the prevalence and significance of stress, burnout, and depression in the field of medicine. We're going to identify strategies to promote grit, resilience, and happiness in both oneself and in colleagues. We're going to understand the concept and research behind positive psychology. And then we're going to learn 3 techniques that can be used to improve happiness and decrease burnout in your career.
So first, I'd like to invite everyone to press pause today. Part of what we're going to talk about is a little bit of being present, being here with us, being focused on the moment, and how that can affect your happiness, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And I know we are all emergency physicians. We all have severe ADD, and we have a very hard time paying attention. Don't get me wrong, I usually have my laptop out and I half watch a presentation. But I'd really like you guys to all be with us today. We are going to do some sharing. You guys are going to get to know your neighbors. And if you find yourself distracted, thinking about where you're going to dinner tonight, thinking about what you were doing yesterday, just be aware of it. Take a breath and come back and rejoin us and be present in the moment with us. So let's go ahead and start by getting to know a few people around you. So if you're kind of off on your own, scooch closer to someone, get cozy. Turn around, introduce yourself to a couple of your neighbors, 3 or 4 people, 5 or 6 people, whatever seems like a comfortable group. Don't leave anyone out. Say hi, introduce yourself.
Come on in, guys. There's seats up front.
Alrighty, so now that you know the name and maybe where the person next to you is from, I'd like you to share one more thing. And for some of you, this is going to seem a little crunchy. It's a little crunchy for me. I went to a wellness seminar, and this was weird for me. But I want you to share your mood and your mindset. So your mood is how you're feeling right now, and your mindset is what you're thinking about, what you're planning to do with what we're doing here. So for me, I'm feeling a pretty good day. I actually spent the morning in my hotel room catching up on some work, so that's always a positive. And I'm really optimistic and excited about sharing this with you guys. I love these books. I love these concepts. I share them with my residents, and now I get to share them with a fairly large group here at a national conference, so that's really exciting. How are you feeling today, Alisa?
My mood's pretty good. I did the exact same thing. I sat in my hotel room bed and got a whole lot of emails answered, and that always improves things for me. I'm feeling a little nervous because we're up here talking in front of you guys, and I'm kind of a walker, and I feel a little caged in, but I don't want to block our slides. So that's my kind of mindset. Andy?
And I've had a pretty busy day. I'm kind of tired, but overall, this opportunity has really got me rejuvenated and excited to kind of present and share our ideas with you.
Awesome. So re-find your friends you just found and share your mood and your mindset for me. So you guys have mindset today.
Good. Busy. There it is. All right, so let's bring it back. Let's talk about why. So why are we all sitting here? What's the point of this? Why are we all interested in happiness? Why, why do we want to better ourselves? Why do we want to better our well-being? Well, I think for a lot of it, the proof really lies in the numbers, you guys. And these are numbers that make me super sad. So 54% of physicians right now say they're feeling burnt out. So if we look at this room and we try to split it in half, that means that the back half, you're all burnt out and the front half is doing okay. That's kind of scary. Or if we've got Shannon, myself, and Andy. So one of us gets to be burnt out and the other one has to kind of be in the middle and someone gets to be happy. That's a little sad. 88% of physicians are moderately to severely depressed. So we can take maybe the front 3 rows. You guys are feeling good. Sorry, back rows, you guys are not feeling so great. That's a big number. That's a big chunk of this room. And then 59% of doctors wouldn't recommend a career in medicine to their children. That one really hits home because who's going to take care of us? Who are going to be the next set of physicians if we don't want our kids to go into this specialty? Who's going to take care of the country? And that's really scary. So these numbers are a big deal. If we take it one step further, Andy.
So just look at this slide. So this is, and just like the previous slide, this is specific to emergency medicine. 55% of our colleagues are burnt out. Turn next to your neighbor. Odds are your neighbor is burnt out. Burnout's a significant issue. It affects your life. It affects your effectiveness at home, in the emergency department, and odds are you're going to have to pick up the slack for your colleague that's in need, who's burnt out. Think of all that extra workload. You may become burnout by helping your colleague. So it's a continuous and potentially circuitous cycle that we need to break. So we're going to move on and talk about one more slide on data and then some strategies on how we can improve this concept.
This slide really scares me. So this year, approximately 1 million patients will lose their physician. And it's not because of the things we normally think about. It's not like Obamacare. It's not like patients losing their insurance or gaining insurance. It's not people losing a job and becoming unemployed. It's 1 million people that are going to lose their physician to physician suicide. There's 400 physicians out there this year that will kill themselves. And that's terrifying. I wouldn't want that on anyone. I wouldn't want anyone to ever feel that way, to feel so hopeless and sad that they're contemplating suicide. I wouldn't want anyone to lose a best friend, to lose a mentor, to lose a partner or anything. That's 1 million people that are going to lose a doctor, and that's 400 physicians that we need to be working towards saving. 400 physicians whose lives we can change. And that's why we're all here today, in an attempt to bring us a little bit more happiness and to not end up there.
So how can you be the yellow ball in this picture? How can you be the happy person in a sea of sadness and maybe bring a few of those little blue balls with you and make them happy too? And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
So we're going to start by talking about mindset. And mindset plays a big role in all of this. Mindset plays a role in your happiness, and it plays a role in how you react to things and how you grow as a person. So Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, is an absolutely outstanding book that talks about 2 main mindsets. In this book, the author covers the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset's kind of a brick wall. Things are just the way they are. It is what it is. It's fixed. You can't change anything. Versus the growth mindset, where you consider everything an opportunity to grow and to change yourself. And some of us live in this fixed mindset, and some of us live in the growth mindset. And I want people who are in the fixed mindset to consider how they could push themselves towards the growth mindset. All right, how can you start to change your frame of reference so that things maybe aren't so negative or maybe aren't just the way they are, but they're an opportunity for you to become a better person, a better physician, a better partner, and a way to improve upon yourself. So we're going to talk about a couple different things, the mindset characteristics, and these are where I think it really starts to make a lot more sense. So in the fixed mindset, you have skills and intelligence. And in the fixed mindset, they're just kind of, they are what they are. You were born this way and you're never going to get any better. And that's kind of sad to think about because we can all improve. The growth mindset is kind of what I think like residency is about, you know, growing, learning new things, improving your skills, improving your intelligence, but it doesn't stop with residency. It continues with us for the rest of our career. Whether you're a year or two out of residency, whether you're 20 years out of residency, we all still have growth that we can undergo. Our skills can all get better, we can all improve our intelligence. All right, so we want to try and push towards growing. The main concern in a fixed mindset is how you look. So what everyone is thinking about you. You know, how's my performance? What do people think of me? Whereas in the growth mindset, it's more about learning and improving, okay? It's what can I learn from a situation? It's how can I push myself forward from this situation? If we move on to effort, in a fixed mindset, effort is what you put in when you're not good enough. All right, but I think most of us can say that that's not true. Most of us know that effort is something you put in when you want to improve things. Effort is a good thing. You know, it helps push your boundaries. It helps you grow as a person. Challenges in a fixed mindset are things that if you just can't overcome them, you should just give up. There's no point in trying any further. You know, things are fixed. It's a brick wall. Nothing's changing. I can't go around the brick wall. Whereas in the growth mindset, these are things that you can overcome. All right, they're things that you can find new skills. You can improve your intelligence to overcome those challenges. Feedback in the fixed mindset, and this is a big one in medicine. We get feedback all the time. We get feedback from our directors, from our chairs, from our patients, from our nurses. Feedback is one of those things in the fixed mindset that it's all negative. You know, no matter what the feedback is, you see it as a negative because it's personal. And you get kind of defensive because you know, someone's trying to tell you something, but you know what, this is who I am, and they clearly don't like it. But that's not really what feedback is about. In the growth mindset, when your mind is in a growth type mindset, what you think of is how can I improve with this feedback? This feedback is a suggestion on ways for me to get better. It's not negative, it's actually really kind of a positive because someone's taking the time to lift you up. Someone's taking the time to help you figure out where you could improve to be the best possible physician or partner that you could potentially be. And then mistakes. Mistakes are something in the fixed mindset that, you know, you don't want to make. And if you do make a mistake, then it's shameful. But in the growth mindset, mistakes are something that we can learn from, something that we can grow from, and something that we can potentially share to help others have that same growth. So moving forward from the mindset, we're going to talk a little bit about grit.
Yeah, so building on the mindset that Alisa talked about, we're going to talk about the concept of grit. So what is grit? So grit is defined by, in this book, The Power and Passion and Perseverance, by Angela Duckworth. It's defined as the powerful combination of both passion and perseverance. And in the book, she describes multiple grit scores that can be used to quantitatively assess grit in each individual. But we're going to focus on the concept of grit here in this talk. So what we accomplish in the marathon of life truly is tremendously built upon our grit, our passion and perseverance for a long-term goal. And for a lot of us, that may be progressing throughout our career. That could be being the best husband, the best wife, the best father, the best mother that we can be. That can take all kinds of different forms. And then to be gritty, you want to make sure you're always putting one foot in front of the other, no matter what obstacle occurs. You want to make sure you hold fast to your interesting long-term goals. And you want to make sure you invest day in, month in, year in challenging your practice. In emergency medicine, we naturally work in a challenging practice. We don't know what the heck's going to come in the door. We don't know what we're going to encounter day in and day out. So we're always going to have a challenging practice. And then most importantly, to be gritty is to fall down 7 times, but get up 8. So in her book, Duckworth defines 4 elements of grit. They are interest, the capacity to practice, purpose, and hope. So what is interest? So interest is the passion you have begins intrinsically within yourself. You want to make sure that you develop interests and that you're doing them over and over and over again to make sure that those remain interests. You're in charge of your interests. Some of us have interests in education. Some of us simply want to do clinical practice and become the best patient caregiver that we can be. Others do research. Others do administration. We all have a variety of interests. We have interests outside of work. We want to make sure you find ways to propagate that interest and make sure that you're continuing to improve that interest to make sure that you have something that you're always working for. For those of you who don't have a specific interest at this time, be patient. Sometimes interests take time to develop. A lot of times when we begin our careers, we don't know what we have a specific interest in. We don't know what our niche interest is. Sometimes that develops over time. We need experience. We need opportunities afforded to us. But be patient, because sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. Next is the capacity to practice. So one form of perseverance is really making sure that you have the discipline to make sure you're continuing to improve yourself. It's easy to remain stagnant. It's easy to remain status quo, but you really want to make sure you're pushing yourself to be the best that you can be. Reading articles to make sure you're top-notch in clinical care, making sure that you're pushing yourself in the best forms of education. Whatever it is in your career that's important, making sure you're pushing yourself. Number 3, purpose. What I think is the most important aspect to get out of this slide. What ripens passion in one's life is the conviction that your work that you do matters. What you do as emergency physicians matters. The patient you saved, the patient you provided a sandwich to and helped, the family member that you consoled, the research you published, the learners you've taught, the administration you've provided, that's important. What we do as emergency physicians matters. And finally, hope. And what Duckworth means by hope is kind of a rising to the occasion form of perseverance. When you're at work and you get pummeled with a lot of patients, you get pummeled with a lot of different tasks that you need to complete, having the mindset that I'm going to rise to the occasion and I'm going to complete these tasks, as opposed to getting down on yourself and getting pummeled by all of those tasks. So let's take an example and show you where grit can really be important. So this is the iceberg illusion. What people see for success is all of the iceberg that's above the water. But where does grit come into play? All of this stuff underneath, under the water, that's grit, persistence, the failures that you had to achieve this success, the sacrifice, the disappointment, the hard work, the dedication, the discipline, the passion and the perseverance, the grit that you had and put in to achieve that success. You should be just as proud of that grit that you put in as you are the success. And that's what the others don't see, the dedication that you put in. So how do we develop grit? So grit can be cultivated from the inside out. So what that means is you have the responsibility to cultivate your interest. Ultimately, that's your responsibility. Certainly you can get help from others, but it's your responsibility to identify those interests amongst yourselves. It's your responsibility and opportunity to develop the habits of daily practice that you need to perform. And it's your responsibility to make sure that you understand that what you do matters, that you have a purpose in what you do as an emergency physician. It can also be cultivated from the outside in. So you want to surround yourself with people who are gritty. It happens by osmosis. You model the people that you're around. So by surrounding yourself with people who are also gritty, you learn those skills inherently. And to kind of close the part of the talk on grit and resilience, we're going to talk about the 6 domains of resilience. And to kind of discuss this, I like to use an example. We've all received negative, difficult to receive feedback. We receive feedback all the time. As Alisa mentioned, patients, colleagues, residents, we all receive feedback. And it gets us down. It's hard to hear. But using these 6 domains of resilience, it's important to circle back to your vision. What is your purpose? What are your goals? Why is it important what you do? Keeping that in mind helps bring up your mood and helps you really forget about the negative and the growth that can occur from this feedback. It helps you maintain your composure, makes you regulate your emotions. It helps you suppress that anger or that sadness, and allows you to remain calm, cool, and collected so that you're able to appropriately reason and implement that growth mindset so that you're able to dissect that negative feedback and say, how can I learn from this? How can I grow? How can I develop a plan that's going to help me improve as opposed to being cut down? The rest of the 6 aspects of resilience are difficult to occur if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not healthy, if you're not exercising, you're not eating right, you're not sleeping well. My favorite one is tenacity. So having the swagger to get back up and say, I'm going to do this. I don't care what they said. I understand it's important, but I'm going to get back up and I'm going to show them that I know what I'm doing. And ultimately surrounding yourself with a supportive network, collaborators that can help you maintain your perception and others' perceptions of you. Make sure that you're maintaining a positive outlook.
So I'm a little biased, but I think I get to do the best book of the three we're talking about today. So this is from a book called The Happiness Advantage. It's by Sean Anker. If you're only going to pick one of the three books to read today, I say read this one. So how many of you guys at some point in your life were told that once you're successful, you were going to be happy? Whose parents told them that? Come on now. Or at some point in your life, you thought, God, as soon as I get into med school, I'm going to be happy. As soon as I finish med school, I'm going to be happy. As soon as I get into residency, I'm going to be happy. No, as soon as I finish residency, I'm going to be happy. As soon as I get that associate professorship, I'm going to be happy. Are you seeing the problem with this? It just keeps going. When do I finally get to be happy? And people have studied this. So the positive psychology is the study of happiness. It's the study of what makes life worth living. And there's a bunch of psychologists out there that get a look at this all day long, which sounds kind of like a fun job. Bad life choices, but going to make the best of them. Internal forces. So what have those studies shown? They've actually shown that success does not breed happiness. Happiness breeds success. All right? Multiple studies over and over and over again. So in fact, for some more specific numbers, happy people, optimistic people, are 19% more accurate. They're 23% less fatigued. They're 3 times more creative. They're 10 times more engaged. They're 31% more productive, and they're 37% more successful. So you want to be happy first, and the success will actually follow that. This is one of my favorite studies. This one was a study on doctors. They took a bunch of internal medicine doctors, and they said, we need you to come in, and you're going to work through a bunch of artificial cases. You're going to read through them, go through the physical exam, come up with a diagnosis, basically oral boards on paper. And the control group came in, did the work, left. The experiment group got candy as a thank you for their time. A bag of candy. They weren't allowed to eat it because they didn't want a sugar spike to be a confounding factor. But they were just given, thank you for coming in, Jeremiah. Here's a bag of candy. And it made the physicians happy. Those physicians were 2 times more likely to come up with the correct diagnosis and had 2.5 times less anchoring. So there is literally scientific evidence that being a happy doctor will actually make you a better doctor. This is also why I always bring snacks to night shifts. Make my residents happy, they'll be better doctors, less work for me. So the Tetris effects is the next one I want to talk to you guys about. So already we've decided, everyone's somewhat convinced that if we're happy, we'll be more successful? A little bit? Yeah. Read the book, you'll be even more. The studies are really great. There's one about nuns. Really cool. They looked through their journals over 100 years, and the ones who were happy actually lived 20 to 30 years longer than the ones who were pessimistic in their 20s. Really cool study. Anyway, the Tetris effect. This is a Harvard study. They took a bunch of college kids, and they had them sit down and play Tetris 3 hours a day, multiple days in a row. And they started seeing Tetris shapes everywhere. They'd go to the grocery store, and they'd see Tetris shapes in the cereal boxes. And it's this priming. It's that you see what you're doing, all right? How does this have to do with happiness? Well, if I'm constantly priming myself and I'm Tetrising and I'm seeing the patterns of negativity, then that's where my brain's automatically going to go whenever anything happens, all right? So if I'm always bitching and complaining and finding negativity about things, and trust me, I struggle with this. I am guilty of this. The easiest path is always going to be look at the negative side of things. But if I'm constantly making an active effort to find the positive side of things, then it will actually become natural. And when something bad happens, I will automatically look at the bright side because I have primed myself and trained myself to do that. So this requires a lot of practice, and it requires intention. So one of the easiest ways to do it is either journaling or just practicing either first thing in the morning, you wake up, and you do grateful exercise. 3 things you're happy for or thankful for today. Or I do it in the shower at night, because I shower every night, so that's an easy time to do it. And sometimes it's harder than others. Sometimes I try to make my residents do this on shift, and they're like, I peed and I ate. And I'm like, that's great! You came up with positive things! I actually first started doing this before I read this book because my husband, I went through a rough time about 1.5 years ago, and all I was ever doing was complaining about work, and my husband actually told me, I can't hear about work anymore. You cannot talk about work anymore because all you ever do is complain. And I thought, okay. And then he would ask me how my day was at work. And so I started saying, you know what? I drove all the way to work. I drove 80 miles to work. And I didn't get in a car accident. And I drove all the way home and I didn't get in a car accident. And eventually I started actually coming up with positive things. So even if all you can do is come up with, I didn't get in a car accident or I peed and I ate, you know what? On an ED shift, peeing and eating is a good thing. So again, I'd like you guys to find your friends. And if someone new came in, you're going to find a group of friends. If someone new sat next to you, bring them into your group of friends. And I want you guys to share 3 positive things, or maybe just one each. One each. Share with your group of friends one positive thing about your day today.